Hello, it's Trey from Advent 7, and I'm joined today by...
Andrew.
And Nando V Movies has put out the call to action once again. To celebrate the release of James Gunn's Suicide Squad, Nando V Movies is asking YouTube to talk about one villainous scene. And once you finish this video, please check out the others in the playlist and maybe even make your own.
We at Advent 7 decided to answer that call with a scene that sent shockwaves through the anime world. We're here to talk about Madara Uchiha on the battlefield.
Oh boy, Madara Uchiha, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, I think that like Naruto as a series was leading up to this reveal of Madara in episode 322 of Shippuden.
Madara is an absolute powerhouse with so many abilities. Yeah, the list of things he does in this first interaction alone is staggering.
He has tons of abilities that he uses to just slaughter his opponents left and right, and he's still an enigma up until this big reveal in episode 322. So the first time we see him, this episode is meant to be a showcase of who Madara really is. Like, whatever expectations the audience, the readers of the manga have built up about Madara throughout the years that Naruto have been running up until this point, yeah, the author wanted to blow those expectations out of the water with this scene, with this first battle that Madara has with the Shinobi allied forces.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of, like, this build-up for Madara was insane because he was a mystery. I mean, they even name-dropped him in the very first episode of Naruto Shippuden, because I remember there's that whole flash-forward scene of Sasuke entering the demon domain, the inner domain of Naruto and Kurama's little chakra plane. And Kurama looks at Sasuke and is like, "You remind me a lot of Madara Uchiha." Sasuke's like, "Madara Uchiha? Who's that?" But he was just like shrugging it off, like, "I don't care."
And that's it. You know, like, we don't really hear about Madara again for a very long time. They name drop him once in the first episode of Shippuden, and then I can't even recall the next time we hear about him after that. Not until the actual plot about Madara starts picking up, leading up to the 4th Great Ninja War. And this is around the time that the Pain arc happened in Naruto. Yeah,
so the false Madara, the masked man known as Toby, when after Sasuke and Itachi's big drag-out brawl, he revealed himself as Madara. It's like he dropped his voice like 2 octaves and was like, "I am Madara Uchiha."
Yeah, because the actual Madara has a super deep voice. So this guy Toby, who was leading everybody on as the false villain of the series, he had to kind of drop his voice a little bit too.
It's like Toby explains everything that Itachi has done and using the guise of Madara Uchiha to basically say he has been planning something big for years now, like almost 20 years it looks like. He's been playing just this big plan, Project Tsukinomi, to put everyone under eternal sleep, eternal genjutsu. It's the thing about Madara Uchiha, we don't really figure this out until later, but technically, because they never established how long the Naruto timeline is, but Madara Uchiha died like 100 years ago.
Yeah, that guy is like extra dead by this point in the series, but we don't know that until Madara officially shows up in episode 322, because when he does so trail back a little bit. Episode 322 is when the 4th Great Ninja War has been underway for a while, and we're at the Sand Village, where the 4th company of the Shinobi Allied Forces has just wrapped up sealing 4 of the revived Kage from previous villages.
Yeah.
And they've had a rough time. They've had a very rough battle up until this point. They finally managed to defeat four of the most powerful ninja in existence, who were reanimated by Toby, essentially, the villain who we thought was Madara up until this point. So the fourth company has succeeded. All the other companies have also succeeded in taking out the enemies that they were facing. And so now it's time for a rendezvous for all the companies of the Shinobi Allied Forces to get back together. However, that's when Madara shows up. And Madara shows up because he had just been revived by one of the villains working with Toby. And Madara is still figuring out like what's going on at this point, but he decides to take this opportunity to showcase his power a little bit to the villain who revived him. And so he's told by this person who revived him, Kabuto was his name.
Yeah.
Kabuto, who revived him, tells Madara that Madara's abilities have been amplified. As in, Madara's body has been augmented to be even more powerful than he was in his quote-unquote glory days. And Madara doesn't really know what that means.
Strong already. Like, he was...
Yeah. He was powerful.
First of all, Madara was a little upset when he was revived through this jutsu instead of a different jutsu. He was expecting to be revived basically as just a flesh and blood person. But this revival basically makes him an unkillable zombie with infinite chakra.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to stop him would be to pin him down long enough to seal up his form.
The reanimation jutsu is something that Toby has been using to revive all of these ninja that have been long dead. And it's a forbidden jutsu. It's not one that most people know. But yes, the reanimation jutsu does grant a lot of perks, and one of which is making the ninja who's been revived unkillable, at least until the jutsu is released. So that's not good.
Not good at all.
So anyways, like Kabuto explains this to Madara and asks Madara to show him the power that Madara possesses. So Madara obliges and decides to take on the Shinobi Allied Forces, who are still reeling from the presence of this man, because they're coming to the realization that the person they thought was Madara all along was actually Toby.
Well, we don't even know who he is.
We don't even know who Toby is yet.
It's like, we know they said his name was Toby, but we don't know who this man is. We just know he's a man in a mask, and he's off in a completely different area. Because our main protagonist, Naruto, has basically a shadow clone on every battlefield right now. He's got a couple right here on this battlefield, and is just witnessing this. Meanwhile, his real body is about to meet up with the other Madara Uchiha. So there's a lot of confusion, both from the audience and the people in the show, just like, wait, if that's Madara Uchiha, who's that guy? And what proceeds after this is probably the most one-sided massacre in anime history. It's just 30 minutes of a guy flexing on the world.
So I think by this point it's clear to say that this scene that we're talking about here is a demonstration. It is a pure demonstration of the power that this villain, who has only been rumored and has been a myth, a legend up until this point, is a demonstration of who and what he really is. And I believe that this battle is important because not only does it finally bring to light who and what Madara Uchiha is, but it also raises the power scale of all characters in Naruto in general. after this episode, there really is no going back on like what happens, what is possible in the franchise. I think before this episode, Naruto's like abilities were about as high as you could get. You had the tail beasts, you had all the different Jinchuriki from different villages that controlled said tail beasts. They were kind of like the epitomes of chakra and ninja abilities. But Madara's presence amped that up. It broke through any barriers we had before, any understandings we had of what a ninja could be. So,
yeah, any preconceived notion we had of, okay, so we got some people who are kind of crazy powerful, but there's still at least a limit to what they can do. Madara said, I have no limits.
He literally has no limits. He's reanimated by this point. And it's incredibly strange how he has so much chakra when he is only supposed to be one man. But some of the stuff he pulls is insane.
Yep.
And what we're going to do is we're going to break down some of his abilities here that he uses throughout this eponymous fight. So
yeah, we got Act 1.
Act 1.
This is... Yeah, I can break this out into 3 acts of this just absolute massacre.
Sure.
So, Act 1. First of all, the tension flowing through the battlefield is palpable. A shadow casts over the battlefield for just a cloud passing by the sun, but it's like, oh, the darkness is coming. We all see the uptick in animation quality, showing that this is something they have been waiting to use this animation budget for.
Mm-hmm. Like, when the battle starts, you can see very clearly that the animation quality has changed. Like, the coloring has changed. Some of the details in the characters have changed. You can tell that they switched animation studios for this part.
And so, Madara kind of casually starts strolling up to this army. There's an army of ninja. There's at least 200 plus people on the battlefield right now.
At least.
And he is just casually strolling up to them. Everyone's like, all right, we're doing this. War cry. And start to charge, and Madara's like, oh, okay. Charges full steam ahead. And what proceeds, it can only be described as, why is this man even here?
It quickly becomes an unfair fight. And when I say unfair, I mean unfair to the 200 ninja that showed up to fight this one dude. It is incredibly and sadly unfair. You're not witnessing a battle, you're witnessing a slaughter.
Yes. Madara Uchiha proceeds to hand-to-hand combat at least 50 people at once. He has no weapon on hand.
None.
He just strolls up to a crowd of people who are all using swords, knives, axes, throwing knives, explosives. He just strolls up to them and sends a dozen of them flying back in his initial encounter.
In the world of Naruto, there's 3 different types of jutsu that ninja use. 3 different types of abilities. There's taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. Taijutsu is the one where you're just doing hand-to-hand combat. And it's generally seen as like the least exciting type of jutsu a ninja can use. Typically, we see a lot of ninjutsu in Naruto. We see people using flames, shooting out of their mouths, or summoning like waterfalls, or in Naruto's case, he's got like a giant tailed beast. That's all ninjutsu. Madara is purely using taijutsu for the first 3 or 4 minutes of this fight. He's just smacking people around. Not even relying off of the plethora of actual ninjutsu behind him. He has all these different abilities he can use, and he's not even resorting to that yet. This is his warm-up period that we're seeing, where he's killing scores, dozens of ninja every second.
The one most mind-blowing part is when someone tries to throw an exploding kunai at him.
Oh, yeah.
He catches the kunai, takes the explosive and slaps it on a different dude.
And throws back the kunai and kills the guy that originally threw it. Kicks the guy with the explosive away, and the guy stops, and he's freaking out. He's trying to peel it off. Doesn't work. He explodes, along with several
other people with him.
Yes. That's very memorable. That was kind of a, oh no, no kind of moment.
So this continues for, like Andrew said, like a good 3 minutes. And he starts pulling out more of his abilities, including something that is unique to the Uchiha, a special eye-style jutsu, also known as a dojutsu, called the Sharingan.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the epitome of the Uchiha clan, is the Sharingan. That is what they are most well known for. It's a bloodline trait that's exclusive to just them, and there's several different strands of the Sharingan, but that is their brand, essentially.
And using the Sharingan, he can just hypnotize you. Maybe he's showing you something very horrific. I don't know what's more horrific than fighting Madara Uchiha, but Madara's Sharingan has the ability to basically cast genjutsu, or mental ninjutsu. It can create illusions and cause people to see anything, really. And just a single glance from Madara Uchiha froze like 3 different ninja in genjutsu.
Mm-hmm. Just froze them right in their tracks.
Like,
all he has to do is just look at somebody, and that's enough to completely nullify them. It's insane.
Yeah, it's truly insane. And this kind of brings Act 1 to a close. Act 2 is we start pulling ourselves. We've kind of gotten over the initial shock of Madara Uchiha is here and he's murdering a lot of us. And some of the higher ranked ninjas, some of the better ninjas start fighting back with ninjutsu. But Madara Uchiha is Madara Uchiha. And he kicks in with one thing that the Uchiha is also known for is fire-style ninjutsu. And he casts one of a new fire-type ninjutsu that has not been shown before. Fire-style, Majestic Destroyer Flame.
Correct. Yes. Madara is done styling on these fools. He has now decided to break out some of the bigger guns because the Shinobi Allied forces are forced to bring out theirs. So, the Majestic Destroyer Flame that he shoots out of his mouth covers the entire battlefield. It's coming from just his mouth. One person. And what he blows out is enough to cover the entire field. So they have to have like a dozen different water-style jutsu users come out and create a wall of water to negate that flame. And it works, but it creates a ton of mist that Madara uses as an opportunity to once again style on these fools and just starts killing them in the mist where they can't even see him now. So it's even less fair than it was before.
So bad. It's so bad.
It doesn't last too long, though, because our good friend Tamari, who is one of the relatives of the Kaze Kage, she uses her giant wind fan to blow away all of the mist and essentially knock back Madara like several football fields away. So, doesn't damage him, but she definitely has her moment of, you know, just like being able to help out her friends. But doesn't last long because what does Madara put out next? What does he pull out of his arsenal?
The problem with the Uchiha is that their visual jutsu has the ability to evolve and create even more powers. So Madara Uchiha has activated the second stage of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. And using that, he creates what is essentially the ultimate shield and ultimate offense of the Uchiha clan, the Susanoo, which is just
It's total BS. It's just a giant suit of armor.
Yeah, it is literally summoning a persona, essentially, a giant aura field around you that takes the shape of something semi-humanoid. Except in Madara Uchiha's case, where it has 4 arms and 2 faces.
It's essentially like it's a Titan.
Yes.
It's a ghost Titan, like Attack on Titan. He's just wearing a giant like body of armor that's fighting for him, and all he has to do is stand there.
Yeah.
I just want to take the opportunity to say that being an Uchiha is like total OP garbage.
I mean, you can't do all this for long. If you're a normal Uchiha, you go blind after a couple years of overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan.
But this guy's already dead, so it doesn't even matter.
Doesn't even matter.
Any limitations we had until this point, gone, blown out of the water. Did not matter. That's why this battle is such a one-sided battle. It's really sad.
So yeah, he's got a Susanoo with 4 arms that can generate 4 energy swords that just slices through another couple dozen people.
And you gotta give credit to Naruto and the rest of the Shinobi Allied Forces, the 4th Company, because they still figure out how to rip Madara out of the Susanoo.
It's like, luckily, it's not a perfect defense because he still is touching the ground, and one of the leaders of the company, the 4th Kazekage Gaara, has the ability to control sand, which we're standing in because we're in a desert. So Gaara uses the sand, grabs Madara by the leg, pulls him out of his Susanoo, and pulls him into direct line for Naruto to use one of his top-tier jutsu, something that has eliminated many a foe at this point.
Rasen Shuriken.
Yes, the Rasen Shuriken. Just a giant, destructive, cutting energy ball with blades on it that as soon as it would make contact, it would engulf Madara and end all of this, at least for a short while. Except Madara hits his pinnacle, the absolute pinnacle of ocular jutsu. He activates the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan is the ultimate. It is the ultimate eye jutsu. It's the ultimate form of the Sharingan. It has only been known to be given to someone who is supposed to inherit the Sage of Six Paths power, the god of the ninja world.
The Sage of Six Paths is a god that we weren't even really sure if he actually existed up until this point. The Rinnegan was an enigma in a way, but we found out later that it is something you inherit from the Sage of Six Paths. And if Madara wasn't already a god, well, he is now, thanks to the Rinnegan, which only one other character in the entire history of Naruto has ever had the Rinnegan up until this point, and that was Pain, the original villain and leader of the Akatsuki, who everybody had feared up until this point. Like, Pain was the main villain of the series, or so we thought. It took all the main characters to defeat Pain. Many people died during that battle, and thankfully were brought back to life later. But it's a big shock when we see the Rinnegan a second time, and this time, Madara has it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why by this point, but they see that he has it, and it's just adding on to the flames of, dear God, why? Why is this happening? Why does he have all of this stuff? Who is he? Why is he so powerful? Why can we not kill him? Why is he killing us so easily? It just keeps building on top of itself, and the sense of, what do you call it? The sense of, I was going to say like disbelief. Like the sense of disbelief you have at watching this entire scene play out is just amplified now.
So yeah, the Rinnegan brings its own set of unbelievable power-ups, including the ability to neutralize ninjutsu. So Naruto's ultimate attack does nothing. Absolutely nothing. It is absorbed, it is negated, it disappears. So Madara's like, he decides to take a small hop back, all the way back to the cliff about 100 miles back, and talks to Kabuto, possessing a different body at the time, and is impressed with the improvements of his body, explaining how he managed to activate the Rinnegan just shortly before he died. The first time he died. Thus, he decides to test out one of the Rinnegan's more deadly abilities, it has the power to control gravity, or I should say the ability to control attraction and repulsion. Using this power, he brings a meteor out of the sky.
This is one of the abilities about the Rinnegan that you write home about. He can literally bring a meteor the size of the moon out of the sky onto the ground. And it doesn't take long. This isn't like a Goku kind of like wait 3 or 4 episodes and wait for the attack to get summoned. No, he does this practically instantly.
People are taking a small breather because they're like, oh God, he's killing us so fast. And then the field gets darker. And everybody looks up and it's like, that's not fair. That's not fair.
This is about the moment where the Shinobi Allied forces give up. They all decide, okay, this is no longer time to fight. This is time to run. We need to get out of here. We are all going to die. So get out while you can. So everybody starts to retreat. But the only person that doesn't retreat is the Tsuchikage, the guy who can fly.
He is the oldest man on the battlefield right now, but he's like, we cannot retreat. If we give up now, we'll be running forever. So he uses his ability. One of his jutsus is to be able to lighten rocks, basically. He can lighten rocks, boulders, anything like that. So he flies up to the meteor that is crashing down and continually uses his jutsu to lighten the boulder that is about to crush them in all of his might, all of it. It's not enough, but luckily Gaara is there to lift up basically most of the desert to catch the meteor.
Yeah, Gaara the Kazekage, he has the ability to control sand, so he doubles up with Oniki the Tsuchikage to kind of keep this massive moon-sized boulder from crashing down into the earth. And lo and behold, they do it. They actually stop it. It takes a lot of effort. Like, it nearly doesn't work, but just before the boulder crashes down into the planet, they manage to stop it right in its tracks. And of course, the fourth company, they stop running and they relax. They say, "Oh, thank goodness, we're not gonna die."
This is the start of Act 3, the end of Madara's true demonstration of power.
This is where the battle ends. This is where Madara truly does not need to go into such overkill mode, but he really is styling on these fools. So it's not enough to make them sweat. It's not enough to make them run for their lives. He has to completely and utterly crush them, souls and everything. Make them believe that there is no hope left for them, or for this fight, or for their war, for that matter. Madara is their new god. Yep.
So Madara, talking to Kabuto, is like, slash to the field of ninja, looking up in relief that they stopped the meteor. But Madara goes into ultimate villain mode by saying, wow, they managed to stop the first. But what about the second?
And that's the second. The sky opens up like Moses splits the ocean, and a second planet-sized rock appears above the first. Oniki sees it right at the last second, and boom, it crashes into the top of the first, splitting apart the first moon, crushing him and everybody below it. Just absolute destruction.
The field is decimated. Almost everybody is dead. The only people who are basically still alive are people with names and a few others.
Yeah, like maybe less than 10 people are still alive by this point, out of the like 200 some soldiers that fought him at the beginning. This wasn't a battle. This was just a massacre. It was a demonstration.
Kabuto looks over and is like, you left some of them alive. Madara's like, yeah, I was hoping some of them would survive. I have one more technique that I wanted to try out. And this technique is something that only 2 other ninja have ever used. Well, not even this technique, but this style of ninjutsu. A ninjutsu style called wood style. Only 2 other people have it. One of them is a captain, is one of Naruto's superiors that has been kidnapped at this point. And the other was the first Hokage, the original ninja president of the world.
Yes, Hashirama, the absolute OG of ninjas, who actually defeated Madara in their one-on-one battle at Final Valley, which is like a historical event by this point in Naruto.
It's historical and it's almost mythological in its presence.
Right. There's statues of Hashirama and Madara, like, at Final Valley. So it's at the point where up until now, we didn't actually know if Madara was real or not. Now that we know he is real, we know Hashirama was real, and that, again, bumps up the power scale so much higher than we originally thought it would be. But Hashirama was the originator of the wood-style jutsu.
So, yeah, Madara declares his final move, the end of his demonstration of power. Wood style, deep forest emergence. And tons, and I mean tons, of thick tendril vines spread out throughout the battlefield. This desert is now a deep wooded forest.
Why would you do this? You absolutely upheaved the landscape.
And that is Madara Uchiha.
Oh, by the way, how did Madara get the wood style?
It wasn't explained at this point, but we later find out that Madara basically took a bite out of Hashirama in their last fight, right before he died.
So that's how he inherited some of Hashirama's cells and was able to use the wood style.
That and Kabuto did some experimenting on the reanimated bodies, so it was more incorporated.
Right, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
As Onoiki pointed out at the start of this fight, that is Madara Uchiha. Even after this initial demonstration of power, Madara continues to be an unstoppable force. So unstoppable that the author, this is what rumors have said, could not figure out a plausible way for the heroes to defeat him. I mean, you remember those rumors, right, Andrew?
Yes, I do remember that the author essentially wrote himself into a corner with Madara because he's just so powerful. What could anybody do to stop him? He has no limitations. He's reanimated. He can use all these different jutsus that nobody else can use. He's not only the ultimate Uchiha, he's the ultimate ninja.
Madara himself is basically the catalyst for everyone to hit their limits, try to break past them, and it still not be enough. Madara Uchiha is simply the dark god of the ninja world, and one villain that must be seen.
Hey, I see what you did there. Well then, we'd like to thank everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content. Also follow us on social media and check out advent7.com for more news and reviews on anime, video games, and comics. And more rants about Madara, probably.
Also, don't forget, this is a collaboration with Nando V Movies. There's an entire playlist of videos similar to this one. Just search for One Villainous Scene. Some of the best video analysts are participating, so you definitely need to check them out. We're Advent7.
And this has been One Villainous Scene.